All right, it's another episode of the Pin High podcast presented by Golficity. This week we're gonna talk a little bit about Rory's win at the Wells Fargo down at Quail Hollow. We also got probably our biggest guest yet in Joe LaCava, Tiger Woods' caddy, if you don't know him otherwise. Also, Freddie Couples, 2019 inductee into the Caddie Hall of Fame, all that jazz. So that's a really good interview. It's 38 minutes, really good content. And then we're going to look ahead to the AT&T Byron Nelson with some DraftKings and betting picks. So let's get into it. All right, so we probably should have seen this coming. Rory obviously makes the comeback at Quail Hollow for his first course he's won 3 times at.
Yeah, something about the golf course Quail Hollow just fits Rory's game very well. He had a good week. Last week I picked Rory top 20. I was a little hesitant to do that, but I was like, you know what? He's going to finish in the top 20 at least, right? Like this course he's amazing at, and he just goes and just wins it all. So,
and of course, you two win your best bets. I lose, but we're on to 3 skins next week for the AT&T.
I was gonna say all my picks last week were very, very close. Like Hovland was close to winning, Answer was close to winning, Harmon played well.
I had the high highs and the low lows. Obviously, I had exactly. Top 20 who won. I had a Luke List who was 668 at 100 in DraftKings. He finished T6, I believe. So,
Geek, I'm pissed. I tried to invest in him in that like Jock Market app, but then I ended up like losing during like the bidding period. I think I would have made like some good money off of him. I lost it.
Fit the golf course really well. Played well, and now his DraftKings salary this week's like in the mid 8,000. So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, Rory won there. That was his first win too, I think, at Quail Hollow as well.
His third win.
No. It was his first. Like that's where his first win was.
Where his first career PGA Tour win was.
Gotcha.
That's what I meant.
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so he obviously loves the course, and yeah, we should have kind of expeced him to
first win as a dad.
Come on strong. Yeah, it's true. That was cool seeing his wife and kid on stage.
Yeah, his daughter was not having it after. Did you hear her crying? Yeah.
No.
I mean, as a baby would when a bunch of people are yelling.
and Rory, like he almost choked at the end too. Like he hit the ball like in like the hazard, like dropped out of it, and then you're thinking like, okay, all he has to do is make bogey, so he gets like people they were saying on the broadcast like gets to hit short of the green, and then like hope to get up and down, but then he hits a great shot like pit hole high and easily 2 putts for bogey, which is huge.
If you rewind before that, he was like going through like all the things he could do. He's like, oh, I could hit it this way and like get it out in the fairway. I could hit it like all the way left, try to get it on the like thing. And I'm like, dude, just take a drop. Like
yeah,
that's the easiest thing to do. And like
obviously all I had to do is make bogey.
His caddy, Harry Diamond, no relation to Pat. Maybe related to Pat.
You don't know.
We don't know.
I have a lot of relatives. I don't know about. We never know.
He made the call. He's like, listen, just drop it. Like that's probably your best opportunity here. And you know that was definitely
smart.
Yeah,
it was definitely smart to do.
I was waiting for him to do something dumb. So.
And leaderboard was pretty good though. It was him and Keith Mitchell obviously at the top, and then Answer Hovland right there. Gary Woodland was kind of, we haven't heard from him in a long time, so he was kind of back in the mix a little bit.
Down the stretch, he was a little tough.
He wasn't as great down the stretch, but he was right there and like at the start.
And your guy Abraham Answer just played lights out again.
Answer is awesome. I love watching him play.
I don't know if you guys are watching.
He's gonna win soon. I'm counting on that.
17th hole, par 3, like where you're gonna have to give that like swooping draw in. I thought he was about to hole it. Like it was such a good shot.
Yeah, his irons are unbelievable. And like I said, I love watching him play. I think he's gonna win soon. I wouldn't even be surprised if he won next week at Kiowa too. Like he's gonna win a big tournament soon.
I guess
a lot of big guys got cut this week. Tringali, who we were all high on last week, got cut. Cantley got cut again. I think John Rahm missed his first cut.
Taurus.
22 straight. So
Joaquin Neiman has Joaquin Neiman has the cut streak now.
He has a cut streak now. Wells Taurus got cut. I think mention that. So a lot of big guys got cut this week, so it wasn't an easy course to play at.
Obviously, yeah.
And then one last thing I wanted to say about that is the whole Bryson DeChambeau thing. He thought he got cut on Tuesday. He flew.
That's
home to
crazy.
Dallas. He was like, and he was on the plane, and he's like, "Oh crap! Like I made the cut." So he had to get like I think he said he had got on a 2 a.m. flight.
2:45.
Well, he
You got a workout in.
Yeah, he got a workout in.
Yeah.
He posts like a picture like, "I'll see you in Charlotte tomorrow." It's like it's like Friday afternoon or Friday night.
The guy's dedicated to the pump.
Didn't he shoot like 4 under that next day? He had like
3 under, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. He ended
only he would do that. Only he could do that. Like do something like that. Get on a flight, like come back, work out, and shoot 4 under.
It made me wonder though. So I was thinking about this. He got to the course on Saturday morning, like just in time to like roll some putts, get to the range. He didn't do like, I feel like he usually has this whole routine, but he just comes out, kind of doesn't think as much because a lot of people are like, oh, Bryson's like in his own head. I don't know. It makes you wonder if
that does. It makes you wonder. I think also like, I mean, obviously if he was in contention, he would have warmed up and stayed and everything like that. But like, I feel like also I feel like there wasn't any pressure on him to do well or anything like that either, which is maybe kind of helped as well. But no, I agree with like he's kind of going out there with like a free mind, like I'm just gonna play golf. Yeah. Like he has no care in the world. He's not gonna unless he shoots like 8 under or something like that. He's not gonna be in contention really. So
exactly. And then last thing I wanted
to see at least.
Last thing I wanted to mention, we talked about Abraham Ancer almost holing out on 17 or kind of, but Richie Werenski, I feel like we have to mention that.
That was shot of the week. 14th hole, yeah. Drivable par 4.
Just like
and he like it bounces like it could have like easily if it was like an inch to like the left, I think it would be like it could have like just dropped in the hole right there for a hole.
It had a little too much heat on it. Would have had to hit it like directly in the middle, but
yeah.
I mean,
that was sick.
Still an unbelievable
his name
shot.
comes up a lot on like I think he has a couple hole-in-ones like in the
oh yeah.
So like his name comes up a lot.
He's definitely the kind of guy you don't hear of like ever, and then every now and then he has a hole-in-one in a major or something like that you just like out of nowhere.
I swear I have more of a chance of like hitting like a hole-in-one on like the par 4s at Silvermine than the par 3s. I've come like on one of the holes I put it to like 3 feet and then tapped in for eagle, and I feel like I haven't had a tap in birdie on any of the par 3s.
Yeah.
But yeah. So any other Wells Fargo things before we get into the interview?
No.
All right. Well, I mean, this interview was awesome. I mean, like you kind of had to imagine. So Jeek said this after the interview. He's like, an interview is only as good as like who you're interviewing, because like nobody wants to hear like us talk the whole time. And that wasn't an issue. Like Joe LaCava had a bunch of good stories. A bunch of good insight just on whatever we wanted to know about, which was endless. We could have asked a million things.
We could have talked to him for 2 hours literally about
after the interview
golf,
was over,
everything.
I don't know how much you clipped in, Jeek, but before the episode, like we were talking before we like actually started, but I think we might have clicked that in.
Yeah,
and after the interview we were talking, so like just all around
everything. He's like amazing guy, and he said he'd be down to play golf with us this summer if we wanted to. So we might get on the course.
Gonna have to take you up on that one.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, other than that, right before we get into the episode, we're gonna kind of cash in here. You take advantage. Row back. You see Cheek wearing the hat. You see me wearing the hat. You've seen us wearing the polos, the quarter zips.
I wear my hat every day, literally every day.
They just sent me the Destination Collection Peaches polo. Added a little note congratulating us on graduating. So yeah, 15% off in the Instagram link.
Yeah, no, it goes in the YouTube description as well. It's everywhere. You can find it.
Yeah, and then so you just add something to your cart. It's not a code. You just add to your cart. You got 50% off. Let's do Joe LaCava. Love the setup in the back.
Well, I'm trying to hide a little bit because it's all here, and I'm like, I don't want to be like overdone with it, so just do like a little of it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Gotcha.
It's the only room I have. Otherwise, I'd have something else. I don't know how to do the background thing. My daughter does all that stuff for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Greg does a lot of that for the podcast.
Yeah. Too old for that kind of stuff. I can barely do this. You guys
let's
all
start.
golfers or my?
Trevor's the only actual like competitive golfer, I'd say.
Okay.
As I'm sure my dad's told you. Yeah.
No, I know he says you're a pretty good stick. I mean, like all dads would, but he didn't go over crazy. But I know he can play, so I figured you can play.
Yeah. I'm a three handicap.
That'll work.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Chicago Bulls stuff up here, though.
Oh, well, that's.
I'm just kidding.
Are you a Knicks fan?
Well, I grew up. I'm a little sour on the NBA with all this going on. I just,
Yeah.
I've had enough of LeBron James. But I grew up a Knicks fan, but way back in the day with Ewing, Starks, those kind of guys. Then I kind of lost interest, but I'm a huge Rangers, Giants, and Yankees fan.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pat and I are big Giants and Yankees fans. So
Perfect. Well,
Yeah,
we're on our way, and tonight should be a good game. You guys saw what happened in the Ranger game 2 nights ago?
I did. I'm an
Oh, yeah.
Islanders fan, but I did see what happened, and
Right.
I'm going to be tuning in because I think there might be a line brawl at the beginning of the game.
Gotta be, right? I figured maybe the Caps will bag out and not even play Wilson, but I'm hoping they do and hope something happens.
Yeah, so do I.
And I don't know if you saw this, but like literally like 5 minutes ago, they fired their GM and their president, I think,
Yeah.
right?
The
The
Rangers.
Caps did?
No,
Rangers.
the Rangers.
Wait a second. Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fired the GM and who else?
And the president.
John Davidson?
Yep.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the Tom Wilson thing. Like, I think it just had Jeff Gordon and John Davison both fired.
Wow, I did not see that. I was actually, I don't want to sound like a big shot. I was texting JD last night trying to figure out how the guy didn't get suspended or whatever, and he was just texting me back normally. I don't know. Wow, I did not hear that. That's a bummer. He's a personal friend.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure we'll find out at some point. But
Well, they probably want Drury to take over. I can see that because Gordon's pretty old, but I'm surprised with the JD move. But anyways.
Anyway, we kind of
What do you got?
we can clip all this in. Like we got Joe LaCava here. 2019 inductee, Caddie Hall of Fame, local Connecticut guy like ourselves. Caddie for a lot of PGA Tour players you probably know, DJ, Freddie Couples, right now Tiger Woods. So just thanks for coming on in general. I guess my first question would be kind of like, so me and Trevor have like grown up caddying a lot, and obviously like a lot of people do that and they don't, make it an occupation and a career. So kind of where did you find that? Like what moment did you know that was going to be your career?
Great question. I didn't grow up. I grew up caddying a little bit, like on weekends. We didn't have a lot of caddy type golf courses around here. I grew up in Newtown, Connecticut, and I was just caddying like member guests and member members. And I always enjoyed it, but I always did it because A, I like golf, and B, I like the cash, right? I mean, it's a pretty nice way to make a living over a weekend. Meeting some nice guys, and like you said, you're outdoors and you're kind of caddying in a game that you love. So I always enjoyed that part of it, but I was never like, that was going to be my career kind of thing. And I caught a break. For me, it was easy. My cousin is Ken Green, who's from Danbury, Connecticut. And I always used to work the Westchester Classic back in the day. I would take 1 week off out of the summer of my summer job growing up, high school and college, and work for him over at the Westchester Classic. And, I was just a bag toter. I wasn't doing anything. I was just trying to stay out of the way more than anything else. But you're working for your cousin. He's playing in a pro event. You're having a great time. Again, never thought I was going to go to WestCon and get, there's no such thing as a caddy degree. I went to school and got a finance degree. And then when I got out of school, Ken asked me if I wanted to caddy a few weeks on the West Coast. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. You kidding me? And my very first week was the Tournament of Champions out in Carlsbad. I'll never forget my first day. We were paired with Tom Kite. So I was nervous just to stay out of his way. And then we're literally driving from Carlsbad to Palm Springs, California. And Ken asked me to do it full time. And like I said, I'd just gotten out of school. I didn't have any obligations at home. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. Why wouldn't I? And I was hooked. I was hooked that day. But the day I really became hooked is when I worked my first Ryder Cup in 1989. And I said, if I could work these every 2 years for the rest of my life, all would be good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your Ryder Cup definitely seems like a kind of place where, like, you made it. You don't want to do anything else with your life.
Right. It's a special event for us because, all year long, you're trying to beat the guys individually. And now you come to a team event. And at the time, I think I'm 24, 25 years old. So I grew up, even though I played golf growing up, I played a lot of team sports as well, like football and basketball. So it's all for me about the team. So now all of a sudden you're in a room with 11 other guys, 11 other caddies, you're a team and you're trying to beat the Europeans. I can't even tell you how great that event is. Even though we haven't won many lately, it's still a fun event.
Yeah. So was that just like a learn on the go type of thing? Just, becoming like your cousin's like full-time caddy? Was it just learning from him, learning just from doing it?
No, another good question. Same thing. Yeah, learn on the go. He kind of taught me the ropes. And I would always pay attention to other caddies. Bruce Edwards, who's also a Connecticut guy, unfortunately passed away. Very famous caddy, worked for Tom Watson and Greg Norman. He kind of took me under his wing. I think he knew I was from Connecticut. So he kind of, like I said, took the time to teach me the ropes, so to speak. When you first get out there, when I first got there in 1987, I got to know years later all the guys and became very friendly with everyone. But when you first come out, they're not that friendly. They see a guy maybe taking a bag away from them, an opportunity away from them, and they're always looking at you because they find out that you went to college. Because back then there weren't a lot of college grads. Not that I'm smarter than anybody else, but there just wasn't kind of the MO of the guys back then. So they weren't unfriendly, but they certainly didn't make an effort to be friendly, kind of thing. And then once you get out there and prove that you're an okay guy, I guess they accept you a little bit more. But like I said, Bruce taught me a lot as well.
Right. So in 1990, you made the jump to Fred Couples' bag. How did that kind of like come along? Like, was there a previous relationship, or did someone recommend you?
I think, Ken put a good word in for me because at the end of '89, he decided to bring his brother out, who was out of work at the time and had a wife and a couple of kids. So I understood that completely. So I know Ken put a good word in for me. In 1988, backing up about a year and a half, Ken went over to Japan and he played in a big tournament over there called the Dunlop Phoenix. And Fred was over there solo as well as myself. And so we just kind of hung out together all week. There wasn't much to do back then in Japan. So you would just sit at the hotel, have spaghetti and meatballs kind of thing. And we'd hang out every night and play ping pong. So we got to know each other. But that was only 1 week. Ironically enough, Ken ended up beating Fred in the playoff that week. So come full circle, about a year and a half later, I approached Fred at the end of the season and asked him if I could have a chance. The rumor was going around that he was working with other guys throughout the year because him and his caddy split in May or June of '89. And he was hoping to find someone in '89 to go full-time in 1990. But I was working for Ken. Like I said, everything was going well. So I didn't really give it a second thought. And then obviously Fred made the Ryder Cup team as well as Ken. So again, a few more days with Fred, but not, like I said, they had enough stuff to do. We weren't really hanging out with each other, but we got to know each other a little bit. And then he gave me a chance of a lifetime. He gave me a 4-week little stint on the West Coast. Got really fortunate. I think he had 3 top 10s and a win. The running joke for me is, back then in 1989, you guys have no idea what it's like, but there's no cell phones. So I had to call the guy and leave a message. And that was a big deal for a guy to have an answering machine back in 1989. And I remember I was down in Florida at the time, but I came up for Christmas time to my parents' house. And I told my dad, who couldn't stand talking on the phone because he worked in a bank and all he did was talk to people all day. So that was the last thing he wanted to do at night. And I told him, we need to get an answering machine. Because I said, I think this guy's may not call me back, but if he does call me back, he's only going to call once. And my dad's like, well, you're on your own if you want to get an answering machine. So I ended up getting the answering machine, but I got lucky. One night we were all home having dinner. Fred calls. My dad answers the phone because he said before he even got to the phone, he says, I think Fred's on the phone. I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. And sure enough, he picks up the phone, which he never, ever does. And says, hey, Fred, how are you? They start talking for 4 or 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, my God, it is Fred. And so my dad's over there. I'm in the kitchen looking at him. I'm like, Dad, I think the call's for me. How about, giving it up and, stop chatting with the guy. And like I said, he gave me the 4-week trial. He won one of the tournaments. And I never looked back. I never really asked him to this day. He never said you're hired. He just wrote me a check and said, I'll see you in Miami.
That's awesome. And so speaking of Fred, I heard a little bit of the story from my dad. 1992 Masters, 12th hole. How does that ball stay up on the ledge?
Right. Obviously a break of a lifetime, something we'll never forget. I always say, good things happen to good people, and Fred's one of the best guys. Everyone loves Fred. But we didn't finish on Saturday afternoon. We didn't finish the third round. Big storm blew through. We had, I think, 4 holes to play on Sunday morning. So we go play the 4 holes on Sunday morning, and then fast forward to later that day, we get to the 12th hole. And I tell people, almost the bigger miracle for me is the fact that, first of all, Fred doesn't miss-hit very many shots. And he kind of mishit that one. And as he mishits it, it's kind of fading and fading. And as people know who watch Augusta, Rays Creek kind of goes this way. So the further right you hit it, the further carry is. So I thought to myself, with balls in the air, knowing that he mishit it a hair, that there's no way it was going to get over the creek. And then to see it land on the bank, and then obviously to see it stay up was incredible. Obviously the break of a lifetime. But the rumor goes around later in the day is the fact that they got so much rain on Saturday afternoon with that big storm that when they sent the guys out to mow the bank, guys were slipping and they thought it was unsafe. They didn't want anyone to get hurt, obviously. So they called off the mowers. And like I said, it's only a rumor. I've never confirmed, but the rumor is they never mowed the bank that morning. So again, one of these break of a lifetime, and it was awesome.
Yeah, so even that shot itself, like, how do you approach that as like a caddy and a player? Like, first of all, you don't want him to slip, but I guess the mowers took care of that.
Right.
And like, second of all, you don't want him to like step around the ball, potentially have it move, because the fact that that ball even stayed up in general, let alone standing next to it.
Right. Well, we approach the shot, the cardinal rule is basically, if you got a lead, if you're in the lead or near the lead or whatever, and you got that back right pin on 12, as you know, you're looking at the tongue of the bunker. So you're looking at the middle of the bunker. And this way here, it gives you room if you come up short to hit it in that bunker, which I think is not a bad play. Not that you're trying to get that close to the water, but if you do come up short in that bunker, it's not bad at all. I think it gives you obviously the most room left and right and a little room past the hole. So you've got the most green there if you're aiming at the center of the bunker. But Fred has always had a tendency, even as much as he wants to tell himself 100 times, I'm going here, he knows where that pin is, and he's always going to kind of go out to the pin. That's just how he does it. And thankfully, most of the time works out. And this time, for a while, it didn't work out, but then obviously it worked out. What was the other part of the question?
Just like, how do you approach the shot once it's there?
Well, so we go up there and we're kind of tiptoeing around. So I stayed up on the green, and Fred's down at the ball kind of surveying the situation. He says, well, you coming down? I need a club. I said, well, yeah, no kidding, you need a club. I know what it is. It's a 60 degree. I said, but here's the deal. I weigh about 205 and the bag weighs about 50 pounds. I'm not coming down there. I'm not going to be the reason you lose the green jacket here. You're coming up here, you grab the wedge and do your thing. So I didn't go anywhere near the ball. I wasn't worried about slipping. I was, like you said, worried about too much pressure on the ground and having that ball fall back to work. It was literally hanging on by a thread on that piece of grass.
Yeah, I was surprised he even like just the we were watching the video before this, just like the nonchalance he had, just like standing next to the ball. It was making me nervous, even though I knew what happened.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, you have to take your time, but at the same time, why don't we go down there and hit this thing and get it up on the green and get this thing over with instead of kind of lily-dallying around. And that's the thing about Fred. He's just that way. What you see is what you get, and that's just how he is. I tell people the same thing. If you were playing a practice round on Tuesday there, that's a very simple chip for a pro. Sunday afternoon, when you're trying to win your first major in the Masters, different story. But like you said, he was very casual about it. And then I think you probably saw him grabbing the ball out of the water. I don't know if they showed that with the video, and it said Ian Woosnam on it. Because back then, Woosnam won the Masters the year before, so he's one of the first guys to have his name on the ball.
Right.
So I think it said Woozy on it, a little max flight. And Fred looked at it and chucked it back in the water. It's kind of funny.
So you said Fred's kind of like that calm, nonchalant, like even in that situation like that, trying to win his first major. So like obviously you're on the bag with Davis Love and DJ and even like Tiger. Like how are all those guys like different in terms of like your like what you had to do or in their style like of playing and like what you had to do in terms of like advice or something like that?
Yeah, I tell people the same thing. I think the caddying part's pretty easy. Picking up on how they play and how far they hit and stuff like that. Yeah, it takes time to adjust to that. I get it. And the guys will give you time to adjust to it. But I think it's just the different personalities and what they're looking for out there. I tell people the same thing. Like when I work for Fred, on the range, he's the first guy that comes on the range. He's looking for people to shake hands with, talk about the game last night, yuck it up, the whole 9 yards. And then he'll hit 10 balls. And he'll go over and talk to 2 more guys and come back to the ball and stuff like that. He just likes to float around the range. I think that's just nervous energy for him. And then, you fast forward and you work for a guy like Tiger, you got to be ready. You're behind the bag. He may say out of the blue, where's the pin on 6? Where's the pin on 9? Where are we going to hit off the tee on 14 today? The wind has changed. It's coming out of the east. So that means we're probably going to need to hit a driver off number 3. So Tiger will go through, not the entire golf course, but he'll get a game plan on the range, what he's going to do that day. You have to be ready. You have to be sharp. And you have to know what's going on. But I had to go from 20 years of Fred Couples of just sitting on the range thinking to myself, oh my God, is this guy going to stop talking and hit some balls and concentrate on the round? But Fred will concentrate as soon as he gets on the first tee. And as soon as he taps out an 18, he's done for the day. He doesn't want to think about golf the rest of the day until the next morning when he has to play. Tiger's 24/7. He'll text me at night and stuff, go over strategy for the next day and stuff like that. So you're always adjusting to their personalities. But like I said, the caddying part is easy. Even adjusting to the guys is easy. But you have to know when to pick them up, when not to pick them up, when to say something, not to say something. I tell people the same thing. I try in a tight moment to loosen the guy up most of the time. And it usually does. I'll try to say something funny. It may not even be that funny, but the guys will appreciate what I'm trying to do. One time it did backfire me with Fred. One time, he was struggling. He was actually hitting the ball very well, but struggling to make it a putt. Couldn't make a putt. It seemed like he had a 15-footer every hole for birdie, and he was making, 20% of them. And so he called me over for a read kind of late-ish in the round. He says, what do you think here? And I said, what do I think? I think I wish I was putting for you today. And I thought he was going to smile and laugh and break things up, but he got fired up and mad as if to say, listen, I know I'm struggling with the putter. Now I don't want to hear it from you. My caddy was supposed to be on my side. But most of the time it lightens them up and they have a little fun with it and it keeps them looser.
Did he make that putt after you said that?
Of course not. They never do it. It never works out that way. I can promise you that. Whenever you miss a club guy and he gets over the green or short of the green, they never make the 7-footer. It's just how it is.
That's hilarious. So like, when you make that switch to Tiger in 2011, he gives you a call. First of all, were you expecting the call? Like, what was your formal or prior relationship with him? And what was going through your mind when he's telling you, I want you on the bag right now?
I wasn't expecting a call, to be honest with you. Everyone knew Tiger was coming back and trying to come back. And I was working for DJ at the time. I first got the call from his agent, so I was surprised to hear from him, to be honest with you. But obviously very excited when I heard from him. And then once I heard he was interested, Mark, his agent, said, why don't you give Tiger a call and you guys kind of discuss whatever you got to discuss. And so I remember calling Tiger and we talked probably for 15 minutes. We had a really cool conversation. We talked very little golf. We talked about, the fact he has 2 kids, one of each. I have the same. Both our dads, passed away of cancer. So we had that in common. They both served in the Army. So we had a few things in common off the golf course, which we didn't really know until we talked. But prior relationship, not a ton. As you guys know, certainly back in Tiger's heyday, his 20s and 30s, he's very focused. He's friendly enough inside the ropes, and he'll talk to you. And we played a few practice rounds with him at Augusta every year because he kind of grew up idolizing Fred a little bit. He's a California guy. He'd come out to the LA Open and watch Fred. And Fred always had a lot of success there. So he's not only watching Fred, a guy who he likes, but he's watching Fred play well. And so, like I said, we weren't tight by any means, but we knew each other a little bit. And but to get that phone call, to know that Tiger's interested, incredible day for me.
So cool.
I mean, yeah. And obviously caddying Tiger has a couple factors that are different from other golfers. Are there certain factors in terms of crowd control and just the fanfare around him that makes caddying for Tiger harder than anyone else?
Yeah, I don't know if it makes it harder, but it makes it, you got to pay attention a little bit more. We have great security on the tour and we have local cops that follow us. So those guys are there to handle that. But, as you know, if a shot goes offline, you got to get in there and kind of, mingle with the crowd. And I'll be honest with you, I would say 99% of those guys, are on Tiger's side. They're rooting for him. They want to see him play well. They want to see him win. And we were just talking about that last week. During the pandemic, no crowds. And as you guys know, you guys probably watch enough TV and see it. We feed off that energy. So to not have any crowd, we miss them incredibly. And so, like I said, when Tiger's doing well, you can hear the roars all around the golf course. Obviously, it makes the tournament that much better. But it also helps us. It affects the other players because they know it's a Tiger roar. They might know it's an Eagle roar and stuff like that. So everyone always knows what Tiger's doing. A great example is 2018 at the PGA when Tiger made that run in the front nine, almost caught Brooks Koepka. Brooks was a tough cookie, and he's not going to crumble or anything like that. It's not going to intimidate him. But knowing that Tiger's making a run versus someone else because Tiger's not going to back off, I think it affects guys. And I really think that helping that final pairing at the Masters, when we got to play with Molinari and Finau, when they moved the tee times up, went to a threesome instead of a twosome. So to play with the guys that are ahead of you, is much tougher. When you're playing with Tiger, it's much tougher to, you know, be loose and play like you probably can.
Right.
Right.
And that like those fans are there whether he's, you know, 8 back or whether he's 8 up on a field. Do you think even on like a Saturday say or Sunday, say he's, you know, four groups back from like the lead or something, do you think the guys that you're playing with are like affected by it?
I think the guys that maybe are in the lead ahead of us know that somebody might make a charge, and if it's Tiger, we could have some issues here. You know, Tiger's a great front runner. Most of his tournaments he's won is from being in front, but he has one from behind. But like you said, even if Tiger's, you know, the fourth to last group and maybe 6 shots back, he's probably going to have 4 or 5 times as many people following him as the leaders. That's just how the world works with him. And I, you know, for me, I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, you get caught up in that world of having all those people around, you know, cheering you on, backing Tiger and stuff like that. It gives us a big edge, I think.
Right. So I was doing a little reading up and just kind of speaking of fanfare. Is it true that you once gave a heckler $25 to leave a tournament?
That's actually a true story. I'll make it quick, but anyways, we're at Firestone on 14, I believe, and Tiger hit one way right, and we're probably, I don't know, 25th place. It is Akron, it's August, whatever, it is hot, and you know he's having none of it because he hasn't been playing very well all day. And as you guys know, he owns that golf course, but if you get spraying a little bit, the course is very tight, and you can shoot a number and never have a birdie opportunity all day. So Tiger's running hot, and I'm trying to chase him down, and he jumps under the ropes. And some guy is all over him. I mean, he's 2 feet from him. Like I said, we have great security, but sometimes Tiger will just go into the ropes, try to get to his ball before security's near him or with him. And this guy's letting him have it. He's like, Tiger, you look a little frustrated today. You look a little mad today. You look a little hot under the collar, the whole 9 yards. So I let him have his little say for 20 or 30 seconds. And now he's really getting on him. He says, how about an autograph? Well, you don't look like you're in a mood for an autograph. Really wearing him out. And I said, hey, bud, here's the deal. You know, leave my guy alone. He goes, I can do whatever I want. I got a ticket here. I said, well, not really. I said, if it starts to affect my bottom line, because I get paid on how he performs, then we're going to have an issue here. He goes, well, I'll tell you what. He goes, I got a ticket here. Give me $25 and I'll leave. And I said, done, if it's that easy. So I dropped the bag down and I have a 20 and a 5. I give it to him. So he starts to head towards the 14th green. And I said, ho, hang on, buddy. The exit's the other way. I don't need you up by the green harassing my guy because we're going the same direction. So he turns around, goes the other way on the cart path, and he gets maybe 5 seconds later, 20 yards down the road. All I hear is dumbass. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So like a dumbass, you know, I went and chased him down. And I said, hey, bud, what's your problem? I said, you couldn't call me a dumbass to my face 2 seconds ago? He says, well, we're going to go right here. I said, no, we're not going to go right here, but if I have to, sure. You know, we'll get after it. And then security came and broke it up. But the funniest part was the next day, there was some guy online, you know, people video everything. And he said, what would you do if you were from Akron, Ohio, and you had an extra $25 in your pocket? And they showed him, there was a photo of him. I guess I didn't realize this, but he had one of those lawn chairs. And he said, would you buy a new lawn chair? Or maybe you would get yourself a new, you know, Adidas t-shirt, because he had the sleeveless, you know, the wife beater shirt on, stuff like that. So they were just making fun of us. So I thought that was really fun. But yes, I gave him $25 to take a hike.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you mentioned obviously Finau and Molinari in the final round 2019. What was going through like your mind and Tiger's mind that final round, like when specifically when Molinari hit in the water on 12, or like walking up 18?
I'll back up. We caught a break Saturday night with the storms. Like I said, the storms were predicted to be pretty bad on Sunday afternoon. So for Augusta to move the tee times up was kind of shocking, to be honest with you, because I think the ratings are the best late in the afternoon. But maybe they figured, I'm hoping they figured, A, let's get the people out there so nobody gets in any trouble, because these storms are supposed to be pretty bad. And B, you know, Tiger's going to be in the last group. People are going to watch anyways, right? Even if it's in the morning versus the afternoon, they'll change their plans. So we go from twosomes, and we'd have been the second last group, to threesomes. So now we're in the last group with Molinari and Finau. I think that's a break for us because, like I said earlier, I don't think guys are going to play as well or be as comfortable if they're playing with Tiger versus not playing with Tiger. Now you got a huge crowd and you're watching what Tiger's doing versus instead you're in the last twosome. But I don't want to say no one watching you, but less people watching you. So that was a break. Fast forward to 12 after, you know, we have a iffy front nine, but you know, decent front nine, and we're in the ball game. So we're coming down 11 after hitting the second shot on the green, and I see Brooks dropping and Ian Poulter dropping, and I see Webb Simpson over the green. So my first thought is, and it's not that windy at the moment on number 11, but my first thought is, Brooks Koepka is a world-class player. Ian Poulter is a very, very good player. Those guys didn't probably miss club, and they didn't miss hit a shot. I think there's just a tricky wind going on up there. So we had a little bit of a heads up to that. It might be a tricky wind up there. We finish 11. Molinari's got the box on 12, and he takes out 8-iron. And we have already decided we're going to take 9-iron kind of left center of the green. So we've already got our game plan down. But then to go ahead and watch Molinari hit an 8-iron short in the water, he didn't catch it that great, but to know that he hit 8-iron in the water, now we're going to take one less club and try to get it on land. Now you're starting to think, all right, what's going on here? Do we have enough club? You're starting to have some second thoughts. To Tiger's credit, he hammered this thing, probably hit it a little further left than he wanted to. And as it's going up in there, you can see it stalling out a little bit and falling left. You can't feel that breeze at all on the tee. But now, obviously, we know it's up there and we know what happened to the other guys. Because if Tiger had hit the 9-iron at the pin, based on the wind that we had, he would have never made it either. You just couldn't feel the wind at the time. It was crazy. Tiger hits it on the green, 45, 50 feet left. Finau then goes ahead and hits 9-iron at the pin and hits it in the water. So we're catching breaks left and right because I think at the time we're a couple shots back. Those guys both make double. Tiger has probably 45 feet. He lags it down there, but he probably hits it 8-9 feet short. Molinari hit a decent chip to about 12 feet. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, is Molinari going to make this for 4? Maybe Tiger misses and he makes 4, and we all of a sudden make the same score. Where in my mind, as soon as Molinari hit in the water before, and Tiger had the green, I figure we're automatically picking up 2. To Tiger's credit, after Molinari misses his bogey putt, he knocks his 9-footer right in the middle. It's one of those putts where I don't know if you can see it as well on TV because there's no fans by the green, but if you don't keep the speed up on that little left to right putt to that hole, which we've all had a million of those little putts, it'll go hard towards Rays Creek. Tiger kept the speed up and knocked it right in the middle.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, so it was a huge turnaround. People always say to me, "Did you think it was won by that?" I said, "Well, of course not. I think we're tied for the lead at the time." And then by the time we get out to the fairway on 13, they got the big board on 14T, so that's the first time you see the board in a couple holes. And you can see, I think at the time, either Cantley or Schauffele had both taken a one-shot lead over Tiger. And as everyone knows, the last 6-7 holes, they're going to set up the golf course to be had if you can hit the right shots. So I know in the back of my mind, we still got to execute, hit a lot of good shots, and there's still got to make some birdies because these guys in front of us are going to make birdies, and maybe even the guys with us are going to make birdies.
Right. So as you're going down the stretch, specifically even the 18th hole, what's going through your mind in terms of strategy? Because I'm forgetting how much he was up going to the last hole, but I think he just had to make bogey, right?
As it turns out, he got to 14 by birdieing 16 and played a really solid 17th hole. So he did have a 2-shot lead on the tee box. And then we knew Brooks was in front of us, and we got out there in time to see Brooks hitting his birdie putt and not making it. So we knew at the time before Tiger had his second shot that he had a 2-shot lead and 5 was going to do it. Yes. Strategy-wise, he hit a 3-wood off the tee, which was perfect. It's one of those things where it's funny because I'm certainly not Joe Caddie, but when I walked the golf course the Sunday morning before, I kind of noticed, and I really don't know if I picked up on it or not in years past, but I noticed that if you hit in the fairway on the very right side on 18, you're not blocked out, but you got to hit a decent little cut because the tree overhangs there a little bit on the corner, especially if you hit 3-wood, you're a little further back, so it's hanging over even a little bit more. So when we got out to the ball, I'm giving him all the numbers. He knows he needs to make a 5. And I tell people the same thing. As the crow flies, the ball only went about 130 yards with an 8-iron. But Tiger always knew he had to be, the best spot to miss was short right. You can easily make 5 from there. And I think, I've never asked him this, but I think to this day, when he went to take the 8-iron back, in his mind, I think he was thinking, you know what, anything but a straight ball here. You get over slicing will work, but you cannot hit it straight ball, because if you hit an 8-iron with a straight ball and you almost pull it instead of slicing it, it's going to go even further. So now you're up to the left. We had rain, a bunch of rain on Tuesday, so it's not muddy, but it's still dicey to the left of the green. You're short side yourself. That's the last spot you want to be. You can make an 8 from over there, especially off a muddy lie. So he hit it so high and on the toe, like I said, it went the equivalent of like a wedge as the crow flies, but it was right where he wanted. I think he wanted it probably 10 or 15 yards closer to the green, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't in a bad spot. And then he made an easy chip up there. And then to be honest with you, we hit that little putt for par, and he never, ever does this. I've seen him win a million tournaments. And if he has a 7-footer that he needs to win to 2-putt, he'll knock it down there, an inch or two. To see this ball go by, a foot to a foot and a half, I'm not going to say I was a nervous wreck, but I'm like, man, what are you doing? You never do this. What are you trying to do? And I thought to myself, well, maybe he wants to make sure he's below the hole, but that doesn't make any sense. The guy's the greatest player in the world, and he can't, he hits a 7-footer, a foot and a half by. You saw Scott Hoke miss one back way before your guys' time, but it can be missed, but he knocked it in. The rest is history.
Yeah, you even saw it with Matsuyama this year. He knocked it like a foot by, and it made me even a little bit nervous just watching that. Just like the last hole at the Masters, anybody needs a putt like that.
Happen. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. And then so the moment after, Tiger hugs Charlie. He's with his family. What's going through your mind? Like, is it just like redemption? Because obviously, like, he's come all the way back. Yeah. Is what's going through your mind there?
A few things. I mean, the fact that he shook hands with the other players and caddies, and I kind of wanted to be last and let that go. And then the first thing he says to me is, "We did it." That's a pretty incredible feeling for a friend / caddy, for him to think that way instead of just hugging me and say, all right or whatever. Just the fact that he said, "We did it," was awesome. And then it got even better to see him go in the back of the green there and hug his kids. He talked about that morning. They flew up in the morning. He was so excited to see them win, his favorite tournament and a major. Because I think the last time he won one, I don't even know if they were around, to be honest. I don't know how old they are, but I know how old they are, but I don't think they were around back when he won his last major. So, and he knows, time is, I wouldn't say running out, but he's getting older. This was going to be an opportunity he wanted to capitalize on. But to see him hug it out with them was incredible for me, being a dad and stuff like that, and knowing how much it meant to him. People have no idea the work that he put in just to get to where he was, just to be able to play golf again, let alone at that level. And I know he worked extremely, extremely hard the week before down in Florida. And like I said, at 45, 46 with a bad back and already having won 14 majors, most guys could pack it in, but Tiger's always going to outwork you. He can't work like he used to because he physically can't do it, but he's still going to find the time to outwork you. And going through my mind, look, just happy for him, happy for myself, happy for golf. I mean, it was just a great moment. And I think people call it the greatest comeback in, sports history. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it has to be right up there with everything else.
Definitely. Yeah.
So you talk about that's one of the greatest moments for you and for Tiger. Do you think you with your son caddying for Charlie and Tiger and the PNC Flower son, do you think that's up there for one of the greatest moments for you and for Tiger as well?
For sure. I mean, when Tiger and I text, he still talks about that weekend. When Tiger first told me he was thinking about playing it, first thing he said to me is, and Joe Jr., of course, is going to work for Charlie. He said, if Joe can't make it down, we're not playing. That's just how adamant he was about Joe playing. And Joe, my son, came to the PGA for the weekend in 2018, and him and Tiger kind of hit it off. And they become, pretty good buddies. So the fact that he thought of Joe to work for Charlie, and then to see those two get along so well, like a lot of the times, well, every time, the tees were further back. So my son Joe and Charlie would go up front. You could see them going back and forth talking strategy. And it's funny, the kid at the time was only 11, but, he's asking questions like, what's it to carry that bunker like a regular pro would do? I mean, his golf IQ is through the roof. And to see those two interact, it was pretty incredible. And obviously for Charlie to play as well as he played at 11 years old, to me, was amazing. I mean, I know the kid can play, but, he's got cameras on him now. The whole world's watching him, stuff like that. But he didn't bat an eye and played fantastic. And, Tiger will always put it, on me being down with my son and stuff like that. But I know it meant the world to him too, obviously. So if having four of us out there and then play with the Thomases the first day was just fantastic.
Right. Yeah, that was awesome to watch. Just as a bystander, I feel like everyone unanimously loved that.
Right. Hard not to like it, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's comparing themselves to if they're better than Charlie Woods, and when he's 11 years old and we're 22, trying to compare it, see if we can beat him even straight up. It's
right.
Yeah, exactly. Kid's amazing.
It is. It's fun to watch. It's great.
So I have a little bit of a different question.
Sure.
So I've caddied for Trevor for two qualifying events for the Connecticut Open. I'm currently 0 for 2 as a caddy. We haven't done it yet.
You might need to make a change on the bag.
So say he brings you along for a competitive round. how positively are you influencing his score, or even just any golfer's score?
Right. Well, it sounds like, I tell people that are good golfers like Trevor, at the amateur, age, every stroke is so important. So, I'm a big fan. If you're in a bad spot or in the rough and stuff like that, excuse me, chip it out, lay it up, and live for another day. Make a par, make a bogey. Don't try to be your hero, kind of thing. And I think you're a good buddies. You probably have fun out there. You're probably keeping it positive too. So I don't know if I'm going to help him that much, because I think at that age it helps to have a younger guy and a friend working for you so you're comfortable. I'm not Joe Caddie, but I think sometimes I make people nervous. Like when I play golf with them and stuff like that, they caddy, or if I'm in a group where they're caddying, stuff like that. And there's no need to be, especially when they see my game. But I think I could help a little bit here and there. Maybe reading some putts. You said you're a decent golfer. I don't know how much you play. I think that's one thing that I do okay. It doesn't always translate to me making putts. And I think that's why actually Tiger trusts me with reading greens, because he's seen me putt down his backyard. We've had putting contests, and I putt a little bit here and there. And he knows the rest of my game's not very good, but he knows I can putt, so he trusts me with that. So I think I could probably help a little bit there, because you'd be surprised. I'm sure Trevor reads him well. And like I said, you don't play much golf, or it doesn't sound like you play a ton of golf. And I think that's something you're born with. And I was fortunate enough to kind of have that gene, I think.
Right. Yeah. You definitely help with the reading of the greens. I'm more or less just there for moral support.
Yeah.
Pat's kind of there. Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, unless you guys have anything else to ask, we really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate you taking the time, and we hope that we see you at a tournament soon in person. Back on the bag.
Of course. Well, I appreciate it, guys. If you have more questions, great. If not, you want to wrap it up, that's fine too. But you guys were fantastic. Good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you so
much.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Really appreciate it.
You got it. You guys all going back home, so you'll all be kind of hanging out again together, or you guys going somewhere else for jobs and stuff?
I think determined, I think.
I think as of right now, I think this summer, I think we'll all be back home. So that's good. At least play some golf together. But other than that, I mean, we don't really know exactly.
Be determined whether we get jobs.
Yeah, it's a shame none of us have a cousin who plays
on the PGA Tour. So. Yeah, that's so true.
It's all about who you know, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
My son actually graduates Friday, so we're leaving tomorrow too. And he, I think, is going to caddy at Wingfoot. Just to have a little fun over the summer before he even kind of looks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
It's not a bad thing to do. You got
the rest of
your lives to work.
Yeah, I've worked at Silver Spring where Trevor obviously belongs, and I might do that this summer. Just have a little fun.
All right, I'll let you guys go. I'm sure you got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for coming on.
Anytime, guys. Enjoy the summer. Maybe I'll see you over there.
Yeah, definitely. We'll still hope to see you soon.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, that was Joe LaCava. Thanks again to him for coming on. That was just, you just listened to it. I'm sure you realize that was also pretty special. So
yeah, unreal. I had so many great stories. I
mean, he's been everywhere, knows everyone pretty much. Like the stories, the Masters, Freddie Couple stories, Tiger stories are unbelievable.
We toss him a question, he just hit it out of the park every time.
Yeah. He's funny, personable, like great guy, all around amazing guy.
Let's get into the stat of the week before we move into our picks.
Yeah, so stat of the week. So I just read up on this and I found this. So Rory McIlroy has never gone over par in the first round of an event that he won until this week. So this week he went 72, 66, 68, 68 to win. So this was the first of his, I think, 19 wins that he went over par in the first round and won. So
him having 19 wins in general is a crazy stat. Not because of how impressive it is. It is impressive, but because of how many Tiger has.
Right.
You're like, so that's not
every time.
And Rory's Rory.
Every time you see something, someone's won 10 times, you're like, oh, they're really, really good. And then you realize Tiger has 8 times that, in his career.
He literally just sweep events. This is the first time that Rory won 3 straight events, we said earlier. Or not 3 straight, 3 of the same event. And like
Oh, he's
Tiger's
probably
done
done
that
that.
for like a lot of events.
Numerous. He's won like 6. He's won like events like 6 times. Like it's
Exactly.
unbelievable. Like 3 or 4 of them 6 times.
Yeah. And then, so do we want to move into picks? Or actually, also another crazy stat. He was 52 for 52 from 6 feet and in.
That was the other one I was going to think.
That's if Rory can do that, he's
Automatic.
gonna win every single time. Every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah.
So let's get into the DraftKings picks and our skins segment.
All right, so skins course preview really quick. AT&T Byron Nelson. We have TPC Craig Ranch. The first time that a PGA Tour tournament is being held here. There has been a couple Corn Ferry tournaments. It's a par 72, 74, 68, so relatively long course. All the par fives are between like 550 and 570. And the field's really strong this week. So you have Brooks Koepka and Hideki Matsuyama returning for the first time since the Masters. Bryson's playing this week. Jordan Spieth, John Rahm also all on the field. So pretty good field this week. Just some key stats to look at: strokes gained approach, proximity from 175 plus, just based on like hole yardages and stuff like that. And then par fours gain 450 to 500. There's 6 par fours over 450 yards, so that's gonna be really important. And then strokes gain off the tee.
All right,
All
so
right.
I'll start my picks. Answer last week finished second, Griot T14, but I'll go with Keith Mitchell just finished second to Rory last week. Obviously, he was great off the tee. Has a couple of top 5s in his last 3 starts and top 20 his last 4. So 8,000, I think it's pretty good value for his form at least.
Yeah, Keith Mitchell, honestly, like he didn't even really limp down the stretch. He just didn't have a great Sunday, but like he had a fine Sunday. Like
and Rory kind of was like, he was just consistent,
beat, yeah.
and yeah, it was hard to beat what he was doing.
Par 3 was that he birdied, and Rory ended up having like a nice par save. That was a really big birdie. That was a sick shot. But yeah, Cheek, you want to go second?
Yeah, we'll go right down the line here. So my high guy this week, I'm gonna go Scotty Scheffler, 9,400. He's a Texas guy. 7th in par fours, gain 450 to 500, which is an important stat this week. Hasn't been great approaching this year, but he does make up for it off the tee. He's 15th in strokes gain off the tee. He has 4 top 20s in his last 7 starts. And you know what? Just leaning towards a Texas guy this week. I feel like you can't go wrong with any of the Texas guys.
Yeah, I really like that pick.
I agree.
So my first one is Taylor Gooch, 7,900. Shout out Oklahoma State. So he's coming off a T26 and he's made 5 of his last 6 cuts. So obviously he's in pretty good form. He's just been playing really well this season. Like all around, he has really good stats. He's 48th in strokes gain approach and 43rd in proximity from 175 to 200 yards, which, like you said, is a pretty important stat at this course. So that's what I'm going with the high/mid. It's like, honestly, both my picks you can do and like still have a really good top 2 DraftKings guys. So my low is James Hahn, 7,100, and he hasn't been in good form recently. He's like missed the last 3 cuts, but I think this is a turn where he kind of turn around. It's like a new course. Nobody really has any advantage, I'd say. He's 69th in strokes gain approach, and he's actually 6th in par 4 efficiency from 450 to 500 yards. So I like the value here.
I believe James Hahn has a decent finish at this course when they played the Corn Ferry Championship here in 2012. So,
so something to take into consideration.
Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it's James Hahn, but could be wrong. But
okay, well, look at me.
So my second pick, I'm going a little off the rails here, which I don't usually do, but we're gonna do it this week. So I'm going John Catlin at 7,200. Now you're like, who is John Catlin? Well, he's been a horse. Like that. He's been a horse on the Euro Tour this year. He's 24th in strokes gained approach on the Euro Tour and 9th in driving accuracy out there. Also 15th in strokes gained tee to green there. In the last month, so like the last 3 events, he's won the Austrian Open and he had a 5th place finish last week. I'm not even going to try to pronounce what this Open is.
Tenerife?
Tenerife? So yeah, high risk, high reward. He's an American playing in Europe, looking to, come back over to the US and play well. So pretty low value for a guy who's been pretty good on the European Tour. Let's see if that translates.
The next Brooks Koepka.
Yes, sir.
So I'll go. My low guy is Vince Whaley. I read this. I actually saw this in action. He hasn't missed a cut since February, and I've never heard this guy before in my life. Before today,
Never heard
he
of this guy
hasn't.
in your life, so you're gonna pick him, right? Yeah.
And like,
Yeah,
if you're listening to the podcast for the first time because of like the interview or something, we're like not casuals like of on the PGA
Never
Tour,
heard this guy
like
before in
fan
my life.
knowledge, like never heard of him.
No, he hasn't missed a cut since February and hasn't finished worse than T34 since March, and that was T36. But granted, all these like tournaments, like he hasn't really finished. He hasn't finished better than T15 at the dreaded Puerto Rico Open. But still, like he's finished like T20, like in the 20s like so many times. And if you give a guy who you've never heard of finishing T20 every week, like you're gonna do well in your DraftKings lineup. So
on his own like ownage percentage or whatever you want to call it,
so low.
really probably gonna be pretty low unless I
Yeah.
mean that was on action, so maybe not. We'll see.
Well, when we get millions of people that listen to this podcast and like, oh,
True.
we picked Vince Whaley,
get
everybody's gonna take him. So
1.3 million per. So sponsors, just take that into account. And then 2, like if you get that's most likely your lowest or second lowest guy. If you get him to even make the cut, that's a plus.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, and he's
Gotta
gonna
go for 6 for 6 in cuts.
T20 every at least T30 every single week, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in DraftKings lineup, you're looking for a guy at that low value to pretty much just make the cut. Now, last week, for example, like I got lucky. I had Rory, obviously, but I also had Luke List, who finished T6. Ended up in the money, and I had 2 missed cuts, which like is usually not how it works. But when you have a guy at 6'8" who makes T6, it helps you.
I did that once when Hudson Swafford won the. I had no clue what even won this past summer, but I did that. I had 2 missed cuts, maybe even 3, and but he won, and he was like very low owned. But yeah, let's move into the betting portion. I'll start, and we'll go back around the other way. So
let's just clarify first of all, skin standings. Trevor's at 8, I'm at 8, Pat's at 0. We have 3 skins on the line this week, which means that the betting line is down to -110. So,
right.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, who do I want to win? Jordan Spieth. He's plus 1100. The value on that is like, well, I mean, yeah, he's probably going to finish really well, but I'm going more for value this week. If you want to bet Jordan Spieth, I probably will. I'll probably do it myself. But if you just want to, you want some more value and not the obvious pick, I'm going Mark Leishman at 35-1. I kind of like love the way he's kind of bounced back this year after like kind of before this season, like in kind of like before January, he had like a weirdly long slump. He's like he's 5th in proximity from 175 to 200 yards. And he's just like a really good ball striker. And I was looking through his putting stats, and he can get hot. He's gained like over a stroke like plenty of times in the past couple events. So I like him. And then my best bet's going to be Scotty Scheffler, top 20 at -110, for the same reasons Jeek said. I mean, I feel like there's something about Texas, the Texas guys, the UT guys, and when they're playing on tour in Texas.
Yeah, I agree with that, obviously. I'll go next. I'm not going for as much value here on my winner pick, but definitely a guy could win. Daniel Berger plus 1,700. He's going for the AT&T double, which is slept on a little bit. He won the AT&T Double Beach earlier this year, so the AT&T double is in play.
Okay.
He's 20th in strokes gain approach, 18th in proximity from 175 plus, and he's been lights out putting this year, which is, I mean, something that you could take into every week and have a chance to win. He has 8 top 25s this year out of his 11 cuts made, and last start was a T13. So, I mean, this is just a place that I think he could win. And I mean, with the putter that hot, he could win any week. Now, if my best bet, I'm going to go with Matt Fitzpatrick, top 20. That's even. He's been top 20 in 7 of his 12 starts this year. He's coming off a T4 at the RBC. His approach game's not great, but strokes gain total still 10th, and he's just a quality player. And like I said, he finished top 20 in so many events. I feel like he could do it again.
So I'll go with my winner is going to be Doug Gim, which I did see that he is the first round leader on the.
I was going to say that'd be uncanny.
I originally had Will Zalatoris, and I looked at. I saw Doug Gim. I even looked at his like strokes gain approach stat. I looked at him I'm like, he's probably pretty good, pretty good value. And his 10th in strokes gained approach. What was it? 20th strokes gained tee to green. And I feel like he's played well at tournaments like with good fields, like the Players. RBC Heritage was a good field too, the past couple weeks. So he could definitely win. And he's a UT guy. He went to UT.
Oh,
so it could happen.
There we go.
Yeah.
In my best bet will be Will Zalatoris. I was gonna pick him to win because Texas native. I think he's gonna bounce back pretty well. Top 20, plus 110, 4th in strokes gained approach, 10th strokes gained tee to green. I think he's like, I feel like it's top heavy field, and after that, it's a bunch of guys who, like, you already know like if they're gonna play that well or not. So I think Zalatoris could have easily finished top 20.
I mean,
and he's like top 20 lock. He used to be a top 20 lock every week. Yeah, he's not. Yeah. Especially he's from Texas. Like he's not gonna. He has his tournament circled on the calendar for sure.
If we're going with like Texas people, like I know he didn't go to UT, but Bryson, he's from Dallas, went to SMU.
He went to SMU, yeah.
Could be. I mean, obviously not really a hot take. I'm pretty sure he's the tournament favorite, but
yeah,
could be the Bryson week. I don't know.
Could be. We'll see.
And now, first round leader, this happens every single week. I put in the first round leader early, and no one really sees it because it's at the bottom of the document. And then one person ends up doing a winner. I was like, all right, this is gonna be the week. This is gonna be the week where you don't pick a winner. That's the first round leader. And you did it again. Doug Gim, plus 6,600 first round leader.
This one was more on purpose, though. This one was more on purpose.
Yeah,
other ones were not, definitely.
29th in round one score, 10th in strokes gained approach, like we said earlier. I mean, that's a good recipe for a first round leader.
Yeah, definitely. And UT guy. So, just saying.
Love to hammer that. This is going to be the week that every UT player gets cut.
Yeah, and I was going to pick Sky Chef for a top 20, but I saw Pat had that. So, which I think is a great pick.
So let's get in the clubhouse. So this week we're doing the par 3 of golf courses that should host PGA events. If you're new, this is it's like a dumbed down Mount Rushmore, honestly. If you really want to
pretty much
get after it. Are we going to do 3 each, or do we want to just do 1 each?
Let's do 1 each, and then we'll have some honorable mentions.
And then honorable mentions. Okay.
We'll have some honorable mentions. Yeah, honorable mentions.
I came up with this one, so I guess I'll go first. And it's tough between the two, but I'm gonna have to go with the one that's like probably makes more sense. Or I have like 3 that it's kind of there, but I'll go into those. I'm going with Bandon Dunes.
Yeah, they had the USAM.
Well, they had the USAM. They've hosted multiple amateur events. They've hosted 6. I looked it up, and we watched. I don't know if you guys. We all watched that, the USAM in whatever that was, June maybe, and that was just like really good entertainment. I'd say. I mean, it always is, but really good course. It went well. Every tournament there has gone well, so I feel like that'd be really cool. It's hard to get to though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's really hard to get to.
Jake, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm gonna go with Seminole Golf Club. I feel like this is a place that a lot of guys belong to, and I would love to see them just absolutely make it pretty hard. And honestly, I mean, we saw it earlier in the what was it called, the driving challenge or whatever it was.
Driving relief. I was underwhelmed. I was underwhelmed by Seminole.
I mean, I think Seminole was pretty good. I feel like it could be a pretty cool course to have an event at. I mean, I wish they didn't.
They never will.
There. Maybe I wish I didn't have the driving relief there, because that kind of like takes away from it a little bit, because now we've seen it. But
the Walker Cup was just there like last week.
Which
cool to have a PGA Tour.
I wish I watched more of that. That'd been really cool to. Obviously, I had graduation, so I couldn't watch it. But like that would be really cool to watch, like the amateurs. And Hagestad plays in that too, which is, I think it's kind of funny because he's probably like one of the oldest guys.
Yeah, well,
like by far.
Keep playing in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think it would be very interesting because a lot of like tour pros belong there and they play there a lot. So I kind of want to see like what it's like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Logistically, neither of these technically make all that sense, because Seminole, they've pretty much said they'll never host a major, and Bandon is just like really hard to get to. But it's fun. It's fun to think about.
Yeah. And I was gonna say Pine Valley. I was gonna say Pine Valley or Seminole, whichever one Jake did not say.
Honestly,
Pine Valley is even
too. So
like they would never have a tournament like that. They would never have, like, it's pretty kind of like middle of nowhere. I think I'm pretty sure, like pretty hard to get to. So never gonna happen, but we can dream. Like we can dream something like that would happen.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
The two honorable mentions I had were Tobacco Road and Sand Hollow. Tobacco Road's kind of like a weird course though, so I feel like it'd be cooler if it wasn't a major, but just like kind of like a fall swing event. And then Sand Hollow like is legitimately just beautiful. It's very close to Vegas too. So
Yeah,
I was say Silvermine Golf Club in Norwalk, Connecticut.
Naturally, I mean, you enter
course,
the
you
minefield.
have to.
You enter the minefield.
Who knows? Who else? Who knows? They might come out with par and lose the tournament like
Who
that.
knows what happens?
right.
Yeah, if you make a par in the minefield,
you're
dude,
done.
you're done.
That's basically a triple bogey for the pros.
Literally.
We're gonna have to like extend the tee boxes into somebody's like backyard.
Dude, 16. For anybody who doesn't know, we've talked about this a million times, but we call the last 3 holes of our club at home the minefield because it's called Silver Mine. 16 is like a short par 4 that is a par 3 on the PGA Tour. Like there was literally 254-yard par 3 this week. I'm pretty sure what it plays like probably 250.
They're hanging the iron.
Yeah. So basically a par 3, but it's a par 4. They're making it to the bottom of the par 5 on 17, and they're probably
over the water
at least birdieing it and then 18 is like a pretty easy par 3.
Wedge. Yep.
It's not an easy green though.
I mean, I'll say the opposite of that. So I've done a little research, and there's a place called the International. It's in Bolton, Massachusetts. This course is a par 73, and it's 8,325 yards from the tips.
Yeah, there.
And there's a par 6, 715 yards. So that's the opposite of Silvermine.
Yeah,
but
a par 6 in a major or something like that.
They're all going to get there. They're all going to go driver 3 wood and get there and driver 3 wood. What and be like,
less.
They're all going to get there. They could all get there in 3. I don't know.
I was looking at the scorecard of Bandon Dunes, and I was seeing like the ones up from the tips are like 6,300, and the tips are like 6,600, 6,700. Not the championship tees are like 7,200, but I was like, we'd probably play the tips, not the championship ones, right? Like 6,600, 6,700.
I'd play the tips. Like it'd be
what's Silver Spring?
66.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, we definitely would.
Yeah, I want to play. If I play a course like that, like a really good course, I want to play from like a like I want to play a tee from like that's like similar to Silver Spring, and like someone that's like gonna challenge me. I don't want to play like to be like, oh, like I made like a hole in one. I made a 2 on I drove the green.
Kind of disagree. I mean, I don't want to like play like
no, I want to
500 yards or like something, but I want to enjoy myself.
I want to enjoy myself too, of course.
I think the best way to think about it is I want to be playing my approach shots from where the pros are going to be playing their approach shots. So if the tees are moved up more, just think about like, okay, how far do the pros hit it? How far do I hit it? You know?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean,
I think the 63 to 66 range is like perfect in my opinion.
Like for example, I was talking to Bennett Dial today, and he has a student pass at Torrey Pines because he goes to San Diego State.
Yeah.
He says anytime he's played the tips, it's like, because he doesn't always, but he has before, and he's like, it's always like a 4-iron or 3 wood in for me, and it's just like not like that enjoyable.
He's not playing the.
No, not the super tips. I have a video that I'm.
No, he wasn't playing 7,800.
Yeah, I have a video that I'm gonna post on Instagram this week. It's from Torrey Pines, and it's showing the tips of the Torrey Pines, and then the guy's like, "All right, this is where the pros hit from," and he walks back like 150 yards. He's like, "All right, this is where the pros hit from."
But like, it's still
pretty
probably,
amazing video.
It's still probably like their tips that are not the championship ones, but like their tips are probably still
long.
Ridiculous, like
probably
70.
Long. Obviously.
Yeah,
73,
of course, like
74.
Yeah, long.
I don't know.
I would like to once in my life I want to play like a championship level course, like US Open course from the like pros tees and see what happens.
I mean, with our career,
I want to.
With our career paths, we might like. I don't know.
Might, yeah. Who knows?
Pin high blows up.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we're doing what
playing
foreplay
shinny.
does.
We're playing shinny and shooting 105 for the pro tees.
You're shooting 105. Me and Jake are shooting
We're shooting like
120,
130 or something.
Yeah. But yeah, anything else this week? Pretty good episode.
Yeah, really good episode. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Obviously, we did. It was amazing.
If you're a golf fan,
any
you
listeners
You
know
will-
anyone
you have to-
in the golf world.
Yeah, you get
Rory
him to listen to this. Like his stories are like again like just absolutely incredible. I'm still like in awe of how awesome he was.
Yeah. So that was awesome. We'll try to get more guests on because I feel like the however many people that do stick around like every single week, there's a good amount of them. They like the guests, I'm assuming. They like beating the bookie. They like the Monday qualifier guy. What's his name? Ryan French.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all that. So we'll try to keep getting guests for you. Maybe some players soon. We kind of missed out on Will Zalatoris, like you guys all know. But other than that, we'll see you guys next week. And we have the PGA Championship.
Major
Kind of
week.
snuck up on us. Major
Very
week, South Carolina.
very sneaky. I mean, I have
Mhm.
graduation weekend, but I'll still try to watch as much as I
It's the
can.
PGA. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week for that. We'll probably have Beating the Bookie on, if not for an interview, at least for him to add in a clip. So we'll see you then.
Yep.